Hi, my name is Donnie and I'm with Johnson RV Rentals. Today I'm going to be doing an introduction on these Fr Sunseeker Mbs. Let's get started. You have your screen door here. That just releases from the main door by this handle right there. So you can have your door open, still get air through, and then close that up, keep the bugs out. Have storage compartment. This is made to have wet items in it, and it has a drain in the back there. So if you need to rinse it out, feel free to get a hose in there, rinse it out. Here, you have a couple different options. So you have a coax connection. So if you have your own television, you can hook it up there and it will play whatever you have playing on the inside, whether that's over-the-air antenna or cable TV. And then next to that, you just have a little 12-volt outlet. This one is just 110 outlets, just like you'll find in your house. To have those powered up, you either need to have the generator running or be plugged into shore power. These three items right here are your appliances. So this is your water heater, your furnace, and your refrigerator. There's nothing you should have to do on them, but I wanted to make sure to show you those because if they're operating, these items will get hot and can potentially burn you. So just kind of be aware of that if you have kids or something running around. This is the gravity fill for your freshwater tank. So if you want to fill that up, you just pop that cap off, put a hose inside there. Make sure it's in, good 3-4 inches, and turn on the water and fill it up. When it's completely full, you will have water coming out of this area right there. That's the overfill. And of course you can monitor it with your monitor panel, which is located inside. We'll be going over in just a minute. And this is just another large storage compartment there. Again, it has the plastic lining around it. So feel free to put wet items, dirty items, stuff like that in there. And there is a light at the top of the compartment there. In this compartment here, you have your generator. So when this is running, it'll supply 110 power to the rest of the coach. This one runs on propane and uses approximately half a gallon an hour, depending on what you are running inside there. So just kind of keep aware if you're running low on propane, it's going to use quite a bit of it. Just a couple things out here that I want to show you. You have a switch to start and stop it inside, but if you ever need, for some reason, there is a stop and start out here. And there is a prime function on it. So if you just hold that down, you'll get a red light there, and that means it's allowing propane to flow through all the lines. So hopefully it should make it a little bit easier to start. When you're ready to start, just hold the start side of the switch down. And then just hit the stop button one time and that should shut it down. The only other thing I'm going to show you on this is located just to the right of the start-stop switch. You have a little black switch. That's actually a circuit breaker. When it's pointed towards you, that means it's allowing power from the generator to the rest of the coach. If it ever pops, it'll be pointed towards the generator, and when it's running, you won't be getting any power from the generator. All right, with the awning extended, you can control the pitch of the awning by arms like this on both sides. So if you just pull down, that will lower the awning. For a couple of different reasons. First, if it's raining, you can control where the water is running off. So if you pull one side lower than the other, you're gonna get the water running off one side versus off both sides of the awning. It is also handy if you have a sun glare or something like that, you can pull it down so it's a little bit lower, keep some of that glare out of your eyes. There are ladders attached to these vehicles, but they are for maintenance purposes only. We do not want customers climbing up there, just a safety thing, stay off the ladders. I just want to point out the stabilization jacks located at the back of the vehicle. All the controls for those are inside, but you do want to be aware when you're backing into the location that you're going to camp that you don't have any large rocks or large holes or anything like that where they're going to poke into it. This compartment here just gives you access to the large storage compartment that we showed in the, on the other side of the vehicle. It's just another access point to access that compartment. In this compartment here, there's a number of things you're going to want to go over. First of all, you have your city water connection. So when you're at a park that offers water, you take your hose, connect it to this fitting right here, turn on the hose, and that's going to supply you with city water pressure to all your faucets and toilets. Here is your discharge for your waste tanks. The gray handle on the right side is going to be your gray tank, which is going to be the wastewater from your showers and your sinks. The black valve on the left here is going to be the black tank, and that is wastewater from your toilet. So when you are going to hook up your hose for dumping your tanks, you want to remove this access panel, place it off to the side there. That'll give you access so you can have your sewer hose running up through the access point and connected to your discharge fitting there. So you just want to give this cap a quarter turn to the left to pull it off, and you'll have these little ears that attach. You'll have those on your sewer hose. They attach in the same way that the cap was removed. So you want to hook that up. When you're ready, you want to pull this gate valve. All right, it's going to pull out good 3-4 inches. All the water from your black tank is going to come out. When that's completed, you want to close that valve and then open your gray water valve. So what that's going to do is kind of rinse out your hose, get some of that dirty water out of there with a little bit less dirty water. All right, when that's all done, make sure you close your gray valve, remove your hose, put that cap back on there and the cap back on your sewer hose fitting, and you're good to go. I also wanted to point this out. This is just another access point. That way you could have your freshwater hose connected to your city water connection. This is just an outside shower with a quick connect fitting. Push it in. That just gives you a hose if you ever need to rinse anything off there. So this is just going to be storage for your sewer hose. The last thing here I want to show you, this is a black tank flush. So when you're dumping your tanks, it's always nice to be able to hook up a hose to that, turn on the water, and what it does is it's attached to a sprayer that goes inside your black tank, kind of sprays everything out, rinses it out really well so you get rid of some of the smell. So this is your shore power connection. It's a 30 amp service. So you open that cover up, you'll see you have one terminal that's kind of L-shaped. You want to match that up to the terminal on your power cord that's L-shaped. Push it on there and just give it a slight turn to the right, and that locks it into place. All right, then you have this ring. You want to make sure you tighten that up a little bit. That way nobody trips on it and pulls out the power cord when you don't want it to. Once you plug this into shore power, you'll get a little light at the top there that tells you that you actually have power flowing through it. We also supply you with an adapter. So you plug that in there, and then it's just a standard household outlet that you can plug in at home, make sure your batteries are charged up, make sure your refrigerator's on cold before you leave for your trip. So when you're ready to disconnect everything, you want to make sure you unplug from the shore power source first. Loosen the collar. Give it a quarter turn to the left and unplug. The last thing here I want to show you is a coax connection. That is for if you're at a park that offers cable, you can have a coax that goes from here to the coax inside, and that'll supply your TVs inside. So down here is your propane tank. You just want to be aware of where it's at, because when you go to fill it up, a lot of places are going to fill it up. So you can go to like U-Hauls, you can go to a lot of gas stations have propane tanks. You just want to make sure that you pull this up to their refill tank and have this in the general vicinity so it's easy to fill up. You do have a little gauge on there. You also have one inside, but this one's a little bit more accurate. When you're ready to open it up to supply propane to the coach, you want to make sure this valve is turned all the way to the left. And when it's not in use, make sure you turn it all the way to the right. So it's either all the way open or all the way closed. Just a couple more fittings at the top here. They're for filling purposes. You do need to be qualified to be able to fill. So it's not anything that a typical customer is going to have to deal with. So if you open the driver's side door, this is going to be the fill for your diesel. So the door has to be open to be able to access that. So just inside the door, there's a little handle that's going to give you access to underneath the hood. Just inside the entry door, we have a number of switches I want to go over. The first one on the left side here is your battery disconnect. So that will disconnect the house batteries so that you can maintain your charge on them. When this is being used, you always want to make sure this is on the on side. Otherwise, you won't get a charge to your batteries, and you also won't get anything powered up from those batteries in the back half of the vehicle. These two red switches right here are going to operate your porch light as well as your awning lights, which I'll show you once we get outside. The black switch on the right side is going to be your step switch. So when that's in the off position, when you open and close the doors, the step will stay in the out position. If it's on the on side, every time you open and close the door, that step's going to come in and out. There's also an ignition override, so that if it's off and you close the door, the step is going to be outside, but if you turn on the ignition, the step is automatically going to retract. The switches to the right of that are going to be for your stabilization jacks, which I showed you earlier. So in order to operate those, you have to have the emergency brake on and the engine running. Then you just hold extend on both jacks until you feel them hit the ground, hold it for another half second longer, and release. And they're just for stabilization. They're not meant to level the vehicle at all. When they're extended, you're going to get a high-pitched buzz out of this area right there. And that's just an alert to let you know if you were to jump in and turn the key on, that your jacks are still extended. To retract, just reverse the process. Again, have your emergency brake on, have the engine running, and just hit retract until those jacks are fully retracted. The last switch here is going to be to operate your awning. So if you need to make sure that you have the ignition in the off position, otherwise the awning will not operate. So you just hold the extend button. When you have your awning extended, you want to be really aware of how windy it is, because it basically will operate as just a large sail if it gets too windy. So just keep that in mind. If you're on the coast going out for the day, just go ahead and pull that awning in. That way nothing gets damaged. All right, so up here we just have storage for pots, pans, dishes, that kind of stuff. When you have these closed, you want to make sure they're completely latched. That way when you're driving down the road, stuff isn't going to open up, dishes fly out, that kind of thing. To operate the windows, you just have a crank there, so turn them to the right to open them up, and then to the left to close them. Microwave convection oven, that is only going to operate when you have access to 110 power, so again, you need to either have the generator running or the coach plugged into shore power. To operate the stove, fold back the stove cover, turn the gas on to the light, and click to the right, and that will ignite your stove. Below the stove are going to be your 110 circuit breakers and 12-volt fuses. So I just wanted to make sure I kind of pointed those out. So if you do have something that's not operating, whether it be an appliance or lights, that's one of the first places you want to check. Or if you're, say, plugged in the shore power and not getting any power, that's one of the areas you want to inspect to make sure those are all switched in the proper position. The controls for the refrigerator are on top here. The left button is just the on and off switch, and the right button is going to control what power source the refrigerator runs off of. So this is a two-way refrigerator, which means it's either going to run off 110 or propane. So the setting you're going to have it on pretty much all the time is going to be the auto setting. So what that's going to do is it's going to detect what power you have available to the refrigerator. So if you're plugged into shore power, it's going to sense that and make the refrigerator run off 110. If you unplug, it's going to sense that and ignite it on propane. The refrigerator is going to get cold a little bit faster if you have it on propane. So if you need to get it cold as quick as possible, go ahead and use that mode button there and switch it to propane, and it will get it cold a little bit faster. It is going to take a few hours to get the fridge all the way down to operating temperature. So you do want to make sure that you try to have it turned on the day before you leave on your trip. To open the refrigerator, you just have a little latch right there. You just push that towards the door and open it up. All right, right above that, you have your monitor panel. So there's quite a few functions on here that we're going to need to go over. The first of which is going to be your tank monitors. So right there is going to show you the level of your gray tank. So it's going to show you empty, 1/3 full, 2/3 full, and completely full. So just hold it down. It's going to give you an idea of the level of all your tanks. So you have your gray tank, your black tank, your freshwater tank, your battery charge, and your propane level. You also have the start-stop switch for your generator inside here. So it's going to operate just like the switch that was on the generator itself. So hold the start button to start the generator, hit the stop button one time to shut it down, and that also has the prime function. So just hold that down for a few seconds. That's going to help prime it up so it starts quicker on the first run. When you're holding down the prime button, when it actually starts priming, you're going to get that generator light right there to turn on. These two switches here are both going to operate your water heater. So your water heater will operate off two power sources, electric, so 110, and gas, propane. You can have both switches turned on at the same time. That's going to get you hot water a little bit quicker recovery time. You always want to try to make sure that you have, when you're not using electric, that you make sure you turn it off, because you don't want this to be turned on and then plug in the shore power. You're going to get a little bit of a pop when you do that. So you want to make sure those are in the off position before you plug in. Your water pump, what this is going to do is turn on the pump that will pump water to all your appliances. So if you don't have access to city water, turn that on. That will pump water out of your freshwater tank and pressure up all your water lines. The Arctic pack is going to be for use when you're using the vehicle in freezing temperatures. So just click that on. It does have a temperature sensor on it, so it's not going to turn on until you're in freezing temperatures. This runs off 12-volt power. So if you're going to be using the Arctic Pack, you want to try to make sure that you have access to shore power because it's going to draw your batteries down pretty quickly if you don't. These two switches here are going to activate the lights both in the living room and the kitchen, just like they're labeled there. The next switch here is going to be for your slide out. So just like your jacks, you want to make sure that the engine is running and the emergency brake is on. It will not operate if those two things aren't happening. When you're operating your slide out, you want to try to make sure it's either all the way in or all the way out. Anywhere in between, if you're getting any kind of rain outside, you have the possibility of getting water inside the vehicle. So all the way in, all the way out. The last switch here is the driver's side light. So what this is it operates a light that's located above the dump station. So if you're trying to dump at night, you do have a light out there that's operated right there. All right, so this is your thermostat. It's going to control all the appliances for heating and cooling in the RV. The first button I want to show you here is just the on and off button. So you get that to light up. The button right below that is going to be your mode button. So that's going to be whether you're operating the AC or the furnace. So right now it's on the heater. It's on the heat function. So that's going to operate your furnace. It uses 12-volt power to run the fan and it burns propane. So you do not have to have access to 110 for that to operate. Over here is how you control the temperature, at what point it's going to cycle on and off. So just down is going to lower the temperature, up is going to raise it. Hit the mode again, and that's going to cycle to the fan, cool, and dry settings. So all three of these settings are going to operate the rooftop AC unit. That does require 110 power to be present in order to operate. So if you go down to the fan function, you can then hit the fan button to control the fan speed. Hit it again, it's going to go to the cool function. The fan button, just like before, it's going to control the speed that the fan operates. All right, so when you're operating the air conditioner, you always want to make sure, even if you're just turning it off, that you always have the auto light illuminated. The reason for that is if that light is not on and then you scroll back down to heat, anytime you turn on the heat, if it's not in the auto setting, the rooftop AC fan is going to turn on. So if you have the furnace operating and the rooftop AC comes on, you want to go back to the cool setting and make sure that auto light is illuminated. The last setting there is the dry setting. Again, that operates your rooftop AC. What it's going to do is help eliminate some of the moisture that accumulates inside the RVs when you're using it. And you do still have the fan speed settings that will control that. Down here, you have your carbon monoxide and propane detector. If you have a propane leak or if you have excess carbon monoxide accumulation inside the vehicle, that will go off to alert you to either one of those. If that does go off, you want to make sure you turn off your propane, and it's also recommended that you call authorities. All right, in the shower, just pretty standard faucet, hot, cold, and then on the shower head itself, you have a valve here. So what that's going to do is just shut off any water coming out of the faucet. The reason they put that on there is because you only have a 6-gallon water heater. The hot water runs out fairly quickly. So the best thing to do is get it to the temperature that's comfortable to you. Use the water and then just turn the valve off there. That way the water isn't just constantly running. It's going to give you a little bit longer showers. The shower door, you want to try to make sure it's closed when you're driving down the road. That's just going to keep it from flopping around, hitting the sides, making a bunch of racket back here. The toilet is operated by a foot flush. So anytime the vehicle's in use, you want to try to make sure there's a little bit of water in the bowl. That acts as a seal so you don't get any of the nasty smells coming up from the black tank getting into the living area. You also want to make sure that you use RV approved toilet paper. It dissolves and doesn't cause any leaks inside the vehicle. So more storage here. You have a closet so you can hang hanging clothes and then a series of drawers at the bottom there. You also have the pantry. So the pantry is locked when it's closed. The release for it is located right there. All right, the dinette seating area will also function as a bed. So to do that, what you want to do is remove all of your cushions. You have these pieces of wood on hinges here. When the dinette's being used, they're in that position. When you're ready to turn it into a bed, you push the seat belts out of the way. Allow that to fold down. Then you come underneath your table and you have a little lever here. You turn that to the side and that will allow you to push the table down. When it's in the down position, take your cushions and lay them back over the dinette. To turn it back into a dinette, again, remove all the cushions. So for your cab over bed, you fold this cushion back. It is have a hard bottom, and that will make into your bed. You have the safety screen with hardware up there. You just hook that on and snug it down to get your safety screen out. To pull out the television, you have two safety screws there. You just want to loosen those up. They just have to be loose. You don't have to pull them out. And then pull out the TV. When stowing for travel, always remember to retighten the screws. They don't have to be super tight, just snugged up. Above the entry door, you have HDMI fitting as well as a coax. Those are wired directly into the television. So if you have a customer supplied electronic like an Xbox or something like that, you can plug in there and they will play directly to the television. In this cabinet, it's kind of hard to see, but right behind the coax, you're going to have a little button that operates a green light. When that light is on the on position, that is going to allow the rooftop antenna to go to your television so that you can watch over the air cable. If you turn that off, that is going to allow the coax connection outside by the power cord to play to the television. So any kind of cable connection that a park might offer, that's how you get that to play into the television. The radio is going to operate as a radio for both external and internal speakers. And that's controlled by hitting the zone button. So you see there zone A and zone B are going to be the ones that are operational. Zone A is going to play inside the vehicle and zone B is going to play outside the vehicle. This is also going to operate as your DVD player for the front television. All right, to operate the seats so that you can turn them around and have extra seating, what you want to do is you want to open the doors. And to swivel the seats around, the lever is located right here, so pull that towards the center of the vehicle. You do want to be aware of where the seat fittings are there so you don't scratch into the plastic, both in the door and on the B pillars there. You can just turn those around and like I said, you have some extra seating for guests. On the driver's seat, it basically operates in the same way that the passenger seat does, except that you have a couple more things that are going to get in your way here. So you have the emergency brake. So when the emergency brake is engaged, it's in the up position. If you just push it down, the emergency brake is still engaged, but it's now out of the way so that you can swivel the seat. So you're also going to have to deal a little bit with the steering wheel getting in the way. So you can operate the seat lever here that's going to let it go forward and backward. In the normal driving position, you can still operate that to make sure that you have clearance to get around the steering wheel. So this vehicle has both turn signal cameras and backup cameras as options on it. Anytime you go into reverse, the backup camera will come on, and the same is true for the turn signal. So anytime you turn the turn signal indicator on, you will get the camera on for that side.